G'day, welcome to Cuba. I'm Matt Scollay. And what you can hear around me is the sounds of Quito. Yeah, we're in one of the world's highest capitals. I think we're about 2,800 meters in altitude here. And it's also one of the skinniest because it's in this rather narrow valley that runs all the way north to south, and the entire city fits in this one valley. And in the background there, you can hear people washing the trolley bus, which is effectively Quito's version of Bogota's Transmilenio. It's very crowded. Drivers are absolutely nuts. There's about 200 people on board of these things, and they fly around. And they always assume right away in traffic and just plow into lines of cars and hope that people get out of the way. It is a crazy place. But the reason we're here in Quito is because today I am picking up Chloe from the airport. And yeah, my God, I've wandered through some pretty dodgy places, but I'm more nervous about this than things. I don't want anything to go wrong. I'm going to be at the airport about 3 hours before I need to be. Jesus Christ, it's all coming up. But that means that this is our first week on continental Ecuador. And I had a single task in mind this week, and that was climbing Ecuador's highest mountain, Mount Chimborazo, at 6,268 meters high. An absolute beast of a mountain. So anyway, we give that a shot, and then we explore some of the towns around the base of it. And that's basically been my week. And next week we will be in the Galapagos, so can't wait for that. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. So it's 3 o'clock, and I've been on a bus for the last it's getting close to 43 hours of travel, and I was on a bus for 38 of those. So yeah, I think I found my limit when it comes to buses, but we are out of Colombia. We're in Ecuador, and I'm currently driving through the most gorgeous sort of green rolling hill countryside covered in cows, not what you expect to see in Ecuador. And I managed to negotiate my way through Quito's public transport system. It copied Bogota. In fact, it's got its own little Transmilenio, but it's called the trolley, and it's not as good as the Transmilenio, but it's got all the elements there, the platforms in the middle of the road and that sort of thing. But the reason I thought I'd pull the mic out now, after all these hours of travel, is that I just saw the top of Chimborazo. It's off to my right now, and the clouds parted as we were circumnavigating the base of it. I'm about to stay in Riobamba, which is the town, one of the two towns around the base of this mountain. And yeah, I saw the top of it, and it is an beast. It's so huge. It's got patchwork fields reaching up to about a third of the way up its slopes, and then from there it's rock, snow, and then glacier. And I thought global warming was a thing, but there's a shit ton of ice on the top of that thing. So this is going to be a challenging freaking hike, I can tell you now. I cannot wait to get started. But first, I've got to. It's sitting on your ass for 38 hours is exhausting. So I am looking forward to going to sleep so much. 40 minutes into the hike up Chimborazo. And yeah, what a morning this has been. I came out of Riobamba after just having a nice breakfast and everything, and then we were on the bus to Garanda and then jumping off halfway. But the entire time Chimborazo was showing its full gloriousness. There was not a single cloud on the mountain the entire way up and around this thing. And I don't think that's a usual occurrence, because even the bus driver was taking photos on his phone when he spotted it. It was so beautiful to see. The mountain is incredible. The snow's down to about 4,500 meters, and then at the top, like a kipper, is this glacier that's clinging onto it. So he is hoping we get all the way to the top. And yeah, it's been a good morning's hike though. 40 minutes into it, and I'm already buggered. So we got another 6Ks to go though. Might be worth mentioning where we're going, by the way. There's 2 huts on the Chimborazo. There's one at 4,850 meters and the other at 5,000 meters. So yeah, we've headed to the first hut to stay the night tonight. And we're already above the tree line where we are now. yeah, there are a couple of very daring eucalypts down there. They're the highest eucalypts I reckon I've ever seen, just clinging to the slopes a little below us. But yeah, the entrance to Chimborazo's natural reserve is well above the tree line, and all there are are these little grasses, volcanic ash, and vicuñas, which are those tiny little llamas, and quite adorable. I'm looking forward to bumping into them again. Oh, we got to the first refuge. This means we're only 20 metres from the highest point of the trip so far, and we've got more to go. I think instead of staying here, because I've got heaps of time, I've arrived very early. We're gonna go up to the Wimper Hut and stay at 5,000 metres for 2 nights instead of 4,000. But yeah. It is having its effects on me, that's for sure. My fingers right now are rather swollen from the altitude and the like, and also I had to take a few rests along the road there from sudden headaches. But look, we'll acclimatise to this climate. It's a pretty extreme thing we're doing, so it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not too sure what the outcome of this will be. I hope we make it to the top there, but God knows. We'll see. So we may have hit a snag. It seems since that these agencies have wrapped up the whole getting to the top of Chimborazo in over the last couple of years, whereas everything I read online did not give that indication. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't have a spare $370 lying around, so it's unlikely that we'll get to the top unless I follow at a distance one of the groups that are leaving every night up to the top and just free ride on there. And so we'll see. But it started to snow outside, so I'm homebound for at least for the afternoon. And in terms of an incredible place to stay a night, it's not too bad. We're at 4,850 meters, and once it clears up, I'm gonna go for a wander up to 5,000 meters, which is pretty close to the highest I've been anyway. Even with vehicles and all sorts of things. So we'll see. We're definitely going to climb some of this mountain, but the top seems further than ever, even though we're on the slopes of the bastard. Of all the sounds I thought I would record on this trip, crunching snow underfoot was not one of them. It's about 10 centimetres has fallen overnight, and it's gone all the way down to probably about 3,800 metres, something of that nature. It's quite significant. But I've spent the last 15 hours in bed because, I had a killer headache for most of yesterday afternoon, and so I found my limits, it turns out, and staying at 4,800 metres might just be it. But the clear conditions of yesterday have absolutely cleared up. When I say they've cleared up, they're no longer clear. There's clouds everywhere, so you cannot see Chimborazo at all. So I think what we're going to do today is gonna call it a day. I wanna walk up to the other hut at 5,000 meters, and then get down to the village of Garanda and stay the night there. But I have acclimatized, it turns out, overnight. I no longer have a rather dull headache that kept me awake for some of the evening. But yeah, the blokes that went out last night, the crunching of their equipment just made whatever attempt I would have done completely redundant. They had so much stuff on. These guys, they had harnesses, crampons, bloody ice picks. They had, they had sunglasses. I don't have a pair of sunglasses, so the glare of the snow, if it had been a decent day, would have been utterly unsupportable. So a mix of unpreparedness and physical limitations, I think, has stymied our ascent of Chimborazo. the happy gurgling of Chimborazo stream. Yeah, we're headed up to Huaypa Hut, which is another kilometre and a bit beyond the first hut down there. But yeah, it's what it lacks in wildlife and trees and the like, it certainly makes up for in landscape, this mountain. And yeah, it's gorgeous. This stream that I'm standing over right now has it's all iced over, and so the only indication that there's water moving is, one, the sound of it, and two, all the bubbles that are trapped under the ice and like slowly worming their way down. It's really pretty. Anyway, I decided I had to get up to 5,000 meters because yeah, I had a little spew after that last bit I wrote, because turns out I'm still being affected by altitude sickness. But there's no way I was going to get so close to 5,000 meters and not go up there. So without breakfast, having emptied myself of all the water I drank during the night, we're headed up to Huaypa Hut. Huaypa Hut's named for the English bloke who, along with two Italians, was the first person to summit Mount Volcan Chimborazo in 1804 on the 4th of January. So yeah, we're not too far behind him in terms of time, but I must say he did well, because it certainly knocked me off my game. Here we are with the wind whipping around Huaypa Hut, and I think this is as high as we're going to get in Ecuador at the moment. I'm feeling okay now, but I think it's because I'm doing exercise. Once I stop again, I'm gonna the altitude sickness is gonna take its hold again. But anyway, yeah, this is it. Huaypa Hut, as high as we go. And the reason I wanted to come to Chimborazo is because it is the highest mountain in the world, and even higher than Mount Everest in terms of kilometres from the Earth's core. And the reason for that is it's so near the equator here, Chimborazo, that it takes advantage of the equatorial bulge, because our dear planet is not quite a perfect sphere. It's in fact a bit elliptoid, and so we're at the top of Chimborazo, which is 6,320 meters high, I believe. You are more than 2 kilometers further from the center of the Earth than the top of Mount Everest. So this is the mountain that you climb if you want to get as close to the stars as possible, and that was my principal reason for wanting to get up there, just to be as close to the stars, close to the sun as possible. Way more hippie than my usual stance on things, but that's just what I wanted to do. It would have been awesome. Anyway, in addition to that, throughout my researching of this mountain, I've been reading loads of books on the history of science this trip, and I came across the story of Alexander von Humboldt, who was a German naturalist, scientist, and explorer in the end of the Romantic era there. He did a huge trip throughout South America from 1798 through to 1803, and in 1802 he gave Chimborazo a crack, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and I have to a point. But he got up to 5,820 something meters before they had to turn back, because there was altitude sickness in the party, and also the terrain up the top there got in such a mess. But anyway, there's that, and the more research you do on this mountain, the cooler it becomes. There was these Ecuadorians called the Hieleros. And before Ecuador had refrigeration, what these blokes would do is they would wander up to the glacier and mine the glacier itself, and then cart these huge blocks of ice back down the hill to sell to the meat vendors and the likes in the towns here in Quito and the like. So cool. I wish we could find a descendant of one of them. That would be awesome to talk to. And then finally, it was last year, there was a climber whose name I've completely forgotten, who was climbing 25 equatorial mountains that still had a glacier on top of them. And he was doing it in combination with the Paris climate talks last year, in order to raise awareness for how little glacier there are left on these mountains. I must say, in reading his story, I did overestimate the power of global warming in its current state, because looking up there yesterday, there's a shit ton of glacier left. Here I was imagining some miserable looking ice cubes sort of sliding down the side of Chimborazo, but she's got quite a bit up the top there. So yeah, what are we doing? Pump some more CO2 into this atmosphere. It's clearly not warm enough up here. I could have made it to this top of this mountain if if there were no snow and ice and all those things. But anyway, so this is where we get to on Chimborazo, and we're going to head back down to some of the marvellous little towns that are around its base, which also I discovered throughout my research of Chimborazo. So yeah, goodbye Chimborazo, and someday I'm sure I'll be back when I do Colombia again. Come back and I'll do Chimborazo with oxygen. We've turned this day around from horrible altitude sickness this morning to cheese and crackers in Salinas this afternoon. And this is the reason I'm here, in Salinas, because it's about 40 k's from Chimborazo. And somehow it has managed to establish multiple community-led sort of manufacturing projects. And it's an absolutely tiny town, and I'm overlooking the most gorgeous countryside I have seen the entire trip. And when I say countryside, I mean sort of rolling green hills studded with cows and fences that are slightly lined with pine trees. And this has it all. It is utterly fantastic. And coming through the valley here on the back of a camioneta, I paid $1 to ride some 25 k's on the back of one of these trucks. You sort of just hang on to the outside. This is the best exercise and sightseeing you can possibly do. You've got a 360-degree view of the world around you, and yeah, it's just so much fun. Anyway, I've got this gorgeous view with cows off to my right, and then this cheese factory right in front of me that we're going to check out tomorrow. And yeah, and I've got an entire bag here full of cheese. I bought first thing I did when I got in this town, I found myself a nice hostel, and then I went to the shops and I bought myself a wheel of cheese. I didn't intend to buy 500 grams, but that's how it turned out. So I got a wheel that was half oregano, half ají, which is sort of like a spicier chili cheese. I liked it. It's very nice. And then I bought myself another litre of milk, because you never get fresh milk unless you're in a place like this, and the milk here is top notch. Oh, so good. So yeah, this day has come full circle, and I am thoroughly enjoying myself right now. We've got a beautiful view. I have succeeded in climbing a hill today, in that I'm now sat atop a lovely one overlooking Salinas. So yeah, that's my day in total. It's brilliant. Might be wondering what that sound is, but this is a result of some hectic detective work on my part. I was wondering why, of all places, would a cheese factory exist here in Salinas? Of course, there's good dairy lands around here. There's lots of cows and everything, but the thing that you need to make cheese is salt, and that's where the fact I've read a book on the history of salt in the last 3 months really comes into its own, because I was up this amazing cliff just above the top of the town there. I spotted this huge flowstone, which I'm now on, and what it is indeed a sort of it's a spring, but it's a salt spring. And so what it does is it brings salts from within the earth to the surface, and that is why this town called Salinas, sal being salt in Spanish, is built up around this particular part of the world. It's awesome. And so that was a bit of salt that was crystallized on top of a puddle, and I've tried it. It is pretty darn salty, but yeah, how cool is that? So we've figured out all the mysteries of the puzzle. We've got Salinas, we've got the cheese factory, and now we've got these awesome flowstones to explore for the next little bit in the afternoon. This day keeps getting better and better. And when I said salt spring, I never imagined you could actually hear it, but this is one of the sources, bubbling away in the tiny little mud pool just next to a statue of the Virgin Mary here. So, it's not only a learning experience, but it's an auditory one as well, which makes podcasts the best. Here we go. Just fabulous. And it wouldn't be Salinas without a little micro industry having popped up around a source of income. And so what's going on here is there's a couple of little water springs here that have got plastic coverings over the tops of them. And the reason that is to stop rain getting in and diluting the most salty of springs. And so there's about 13 of these things from where I'm standing. And I'm not talking out my ass. I have gone around and I've licked some of these puddles and confirmed that they are way more salty than the ones that are in the open. And in addition to that, over here are some big jerry cans that are full of salty water that they have left in the sun rather purposefully, because that way the water inside all evaporates out and they are left with a jerry can that is sort of half or third full of salt. So yeah, the industry is alive and buzzing, and I am curious as to whether the cheese factory would still use that's a jerry can, would still use the salt available in its own backyard, but I highly doubt it. I was wondering about the absence of supermarkets here in Salinas, but it turns out every Tuesday there's a fete of sorts, and it's down here in a building just beneath my hostel, and it's brilliant. There's absolutely everything here: fruits, vegetables. You can hear women violently chopping meat in the background there, and this is the first place where I've seen a variety of corn starting to appear. And so here we're starting to see the huge grained white corn as opposed to our normal yellow corn that we have. So yeah, there's a distinct influence of indigenous cultures here, and everyone's wearing their tight knit beanies, and there's a couple of bowler hats lying around and blankets around shoulders as well. It's just a delightful little town. But anyway, I can't hang around here too long. I've already bought myself some passion fruits, 4 for $1. Brilliant deal. But I'm off to my cheese tour, so I better get cracking. Oh, we've really done it this time. I'm on the factory floor of the Salinas cheese factory as I pulled the I'm a journalist card, and so now I'm dressed up in lab coats and headgear to keep my hair intact, and I'm wandering around gigantic vats of milk and whey and everything, with workers buzzing around me making cheese. And so there's a bloke here next to me that's pressing gigantic 17-kilo blobs of Gouda. Oh, it's a dream come true, this, and I'll make sure all the facts that I pick up on the floor get into this piece somehow. But so much fun. The milk starts arriving at 7 in the morning, and prepare yourself for an absolute fact-filled bonanza here, because the people on the floor of that factory gave me heaps to work with. So, El Salinarito, which is the milk, the factory here, sources its milk from over 350 different groups. They are families, individuals, whatever, can provide them with the milk, and they are all bring their milk to the factory here in these huge 40-litre urns, and they're paid pretty well, 44 US cents a litre, which compared to the 33 Australian cents a litre is quite favourable to the farmers within this cooperative. And so the factory itself has capacity of 15,000 litres of milk, but usually what happens is between 3,000 and 7,000 litres arrive daily. Today, for example, 3,200 litres arrived, and once it arrives, it's pumped through. It's tested for a bunch of bacteria and the like first, and then it's pumped through into the main working room where I was today, and it's pasteurised in these huge 1,000-litre vats at 78 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. And once that's achieved, it's cooled slowly with cold water, and until it reaches a 38 degrees Celsius. And as it's cooling, they mix both cold water and cold salty water. 5 kilograms of salt is added for every 40 to 60 litres of water, depending on what kind of cheese you want. Anyway, the cheeses that they produce here are pretty incredible. They produce 24 types of cheese. They produce the local Andean cheese, and in addition to a number of European varieties, including Gouda and mozzarella. And once you've reached your 38 degrees Celsius, it starts forming curds and whey. And they help this along with the introduction of some little mystery chemicals, which I never really found out what they were, but they were put in these vats in tiny proportions and were cited with helping greatly the sort of the curdling process. And then once all that's done, these vats are just mixed continually. Like, there are people that run between these different vats. I think there's 3 of them of 1,000 litres in the main room, and they're stirring them continually, keeping the curds all separate. And anyway, once these curds are all done, they pump out the whey, and it's left with the majority of curds at the bottom of these vats, and they're scooped into these moulds, which are then stacked about 8 high. And it's the weight of the cheese in these moulds which squeezes out the extra whey within them. And then once they get these moulds, they then bring them over to a machine press, which helps squeeze out any further whey. And after that point, these cheeses are held in their moulds for a little while, and then it's stuck out and put in the maturing chambers. And for the Andean cheeses, they mature within a month. And for the European examples, though, they take a while longer, like 6 to 9 months, depending on the varieties. But the incredible thing was the amount of produce that goes into this and the amount that comes out. For example, for the thousands of litres of milk that they worked with today in each of these vats, they only yielded 120 kilograms of cheese. That is not a very impressive margin. And for the fancier European cheeses like Gruyere, they mix them in slightly smaller vats of 600 litres, and they only yield 68 kilograms of Gruyere from 600 litres of milk, which to me seems incredible. How have we not figured out how to use this milk more effectively? But those Gruyères were made in gigantic 17-kilo wheels, which were just beautiful to watch being turned over and having all the cloths and things moved around them. But yeah, just an incredible process. I got to taste the cheese that sort of fell out of the moulds. So it was cheese that had just come straight from the vat, pushed into a mould, and then the excess stuff that they cut off, they gave me some. And so this was cheese that had not yet matured. And all the flavours were there. They just weren't as strong as they will be within a month. It was just magical. I thoroughly enjoyed my time on the floor, and thanks to everyone at El Salinito for giving me that opportunity. Some of Salinas' charm isn't the fact that it's in this most idyllic sort of country landscape. It's also curious because it is Ecuador's only functioning democratic commune. And what that means is that all the income that is generated here in Salinas is some of it is kept for the individual, but some of it is pooled into these community funds, which are then redistributed. And the way they've been redistributed in recent years is by funding numerous micro industries. And so, what the tour you do when you come to Salinas is basically a tour of these tiny little industries that are just producing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And so, for example, it's a country area, so there's lots of wool and sheep and alpaca and llama wool is all around here. And so we went to this wool factory where it was all washed and then dried and then spun into these huge long reels of wool, and just incredible process. But the amount of water used in all these like micro industries is incredible, and these are the micro industries. Imagine what you would find on a grander scale. It's just so much waste, crazy. But in addition to the wool, they've also got strange little industries, like they've got a soccer ball industry, and so there's 2 men working in their attic making soccer balls, and basically what you can hear now is the bloke hand weaving the latex around the bladder. So the bladder's inflated, and then he's weaving the latex around and around the bladder, and then after that happens, it's popped into an oven so the latex has a chance to harden, and then they pop the panels on it and everything. So pretty incredible. And in addition to that, they've got their own chocolate factory, which uses majority 75% cacao chocolates and the like. Pretty darn tasty, always given away for free at shops when you buy the goods here. Just charming, this place. And then in addition to that, they've got sort of a mushroom industry and essential oils industry. It's just got absolutely everything. And any house you walk into could be one of these factories. They are so nondescript. It's just gorgeous to see. And there's absolutely no hint of of sour taste towards this system. In fact, the people that I've spoken to that travel from different parts of Ecuador and are in Salinas at the moment are exceptionally jealous of the community and what they have here and what they've made for themselves. And after all that, I'm at the top of another hill eating my cheese and biscuits because I got 500 grams of this stuff to get through. I've got to do it somehow. But this hill is somehow more impressive than the one I was on yesterday because this hill has a view of Chimborazo. And that bastard is glaring down at me right now with a flying cape of cloud behind him. And he's looking down at me, and I can't thank him enough, really. He beat the shit out of me, that mountain. And what it's done, it's sent me scurrying down here to Salinas, and I absolutely adore this place. It is such a nice town. I can't get enough of it. I think if I can, I might even stay another day here. But you guys won't have to hear anything of that because I think I've recorded absolutely everything that this town has to offer right now. But yeah, absolute top-notch recommendation for Ecuador if you come here. Salinas is beautiful. And in addition to that, it's got this restaurant called La Vaca, with the K on a little apostrophe there. And they do the most brilliant calzones and pizzas out of all the local ingredients, so local cheeses and everything. And oh my god, it cost me $3.50 US for this huge calzone for lunch. And I mean, that's reason enough just to stay for lunch tomorrow. That was fantastic. The milk, the cheese, all the produce has been absolutely brilliant. So Salinas, get yourself here. It's absolutely wonderful. And that's it for another week. Yeah, this time I didn't manage to find an interviewee because I was hanging around Ecuadorians the entire week. So, yeah, no English speakers, I'm afraid, in tiny little Salinas. What an absolute beauty of a town that is. Anyway, so next week, Galapagos, as mentioned, and I cannot wait. It's going to be absolutely brilliant, so stick around, and I'll see you then.